happy Friday, and thanks for tuning in to RadioFreeRhinecliff.org. And this show in particular, correct me if I'm Norm, I'm your host, Norm, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight with Jill Burkhart. Jill, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
What a treat. How was your week?
How was my week? My week was actually really good. Really good.
Yeah, and what made it really good?
Well, I got some really good health news earlier this week.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Well, would you care to share with all 12 of our listeners? 2 of whom you're related to, I'm sure. Probably 3.
And they already know this, but
Yeah.
should I just go for the gusto? And
It's up to you. I mean, I tell all my guests, you can tell me.
I found out that I don't have this serious mutation that could make the illness that I have much more aggressive.
Oh.
And there was an indication I might have this mutation. It's called a Notch1 mutation.
Okay.
And I don't have it.
Well, that's good.
It's amazing.
And so you've got some other condition, and this mutation would have made it like uglier.
Yes.
And the current condition, how's that? That's
much more manageable.
Yay. Manageable or curable or?
Probably not curable, but manageable.
Well, we're going to start a prayer chain right here with all 12 listeners. We'll wish you the best of that, and congratulations on the good news.
Thank you.
So before you got the news, did you feel sort of the weight of uncertainty? I mean, was there a chance that it was like this was going to be it?
I went back and forth. I actually tried to be, and think I succeeded in being very zen about it. But I think what happens when you're faced with these kinds of things, and also because we're older people, you start thinking about your mortality anyway, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It actually is kind of a good thing, I think.
And in what way? How so? Why do you think that's?
Because I think, for many reasons, but I think we don't talk about death enough in this country, or the way we try and avoid it. And just, it is a natural part of our lives. As somebody said to me, a friend said to me last night, none of us are getting out of here alive.
Yeah.
So there is that. So I think being able to look it in the face, accept it, and deal with it, and also appreciate, because it does make you appreciate. I'm sounding really corny, but these are all true things that just makes you appreciate. I get up and it's a beautiful day, and it's like, this is amazing.
But I got a hunch that you've always been that kind of person.
Yeah, to a certain degree. That's true. I have. Right. I mean, I've had my freak out moments about this particular issue, but I just tried to be like, I'm not going to freak out about it. I can't live in an anxious, fearful state.
And so you had freak out moments about this particular condition over the past
year and a half.
Year and a half. That's a good long time. And I've seen you a bunch during that year and a half.
You couldn't tell.
No, you don't seem to be carrying this heavy weight with you. So when you look back and when you confront your mortality and you look back in your life, what do you think?
I think I've had a pretty damn good life.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different things. I think, I've done a lot of the things that, truth be told, I set out to be an actress, when I got back to New York into college, but I've always felt like I'm a creative person and have gotten involved in a lot of different things, but I feel like I've done a lot of really fun things and had some good adventures.
Yeah. And you've got good kids.
And I've got great kids, great stepdaughter and grandchildren.
And you've got a brother who's a musician.
I have a great brother who's an excellent drummer.
That must be really nice to have a brother who's in the music business. And does he live nearby? Does he live near Rhinebeck?
He lives in Rhode Island.
Well, that's not too far.
No, not too far at all.
So you probably get to see your brother once in a while.
Yes.
That's nice. That's nice. Now, you said that once upon a time you were an actress. How long did that last?
It didn't. I'm trying to think. It went on and off for about 10 years, but I think I think one of the things that frustrated me about acting was that you weren't in control of the parts you got. And I'm someone who likes to be in control, so you'd audition for things, but it didn't necessarily mean you were going to get them. And I think, I'm not going to skip to the festival, but I am. One of the things I loved about starting the Nantucket Film Festival a few years later was that we were making it happen. We were curating, we were producing, we were doing it, as opposed to acting where you are waiting for somebody to give you a job or an opportunity.
Right. Waiting and hoping and auditioning endlessly, I'm guessing.
And it's frustrating after a while. You put a lot of time and energy into that, and it's not always rewarding.
And how long did you do that?
I would say on and off for about 10 years.
And you studied that in college somewhere?
Yeah, at NYU.
New school, NYU? Okay. Did you go to the new school as well? Is that what I read somewhere?
Yeah, briefly, yes. I took random classes there, like things that just interest me without a particular, like things that I wanted to do, like music, I can't even remember now, film, something else.
As opposed to things you had to do for your major?
Yes.
Which was acting. And so did you act in high school?
Yes.
I'm curious to know how all this...
Nantucket, I grew up on Nantucket, or the latter part of my childhood, and there was a wonderful theater there called the Straight Wharf Theater, and it was it was really, really fun. It was a beautiful old wooden building, and they would do like 3 or 4 big shows a year, and tons of people, some professional actors, people from New York who were living there. We'd put on like Oklahoma, like big shows, and they were so much fun.
Right.
Really fun. So I did a ton of stuff, and I stage managed. I was in shows. I mean, everybody did everything, and that was also the fun of it, was having a hand, being a part of a larger ensemble that you just had fun working as a team, pulling off a big show.
Right. It's an amazing thing, those businesses where groups of people get together and make something happen. They work really hard for 3 or 4 or 5 months or 6 months or whatever, and then they're done. And then maybe later, a year or 2 or 3, whatever down the road, they reconvene with some of the people. And it's an interesting job, the theater or movies, where that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, movies are very similar, right? I mean... Yeah, it's like you're part of a larger group that has, and the festivals are like that too. They're not dissimilar because there's always fires that you have to put out, but that's half the fun of it.
The festival is being the Nantucket Film Festival.
Yes.
Which you started with your brother and somebody else?
No, just me and Jonathan.
Oh, just you and Jonathan. I thought he said that Larson was involved in that. Oh,
well, yeah, in the beginning, but... Larson wasn't hands-on. He was more the idea person.
Right. Oh, I gotcha. I see. So that's your brother, the drummer, who you started this with?
No, that's my other brother.
Oh, you've got another brother. And how long ago was that? 28 years ago or so?
Oh, my God. Is that how long? Yes.
Yeah, pretty sure.
28 years. Holy
That's
shit.
Fucking nuts. Right? I mean, you talk about being older, and it's like, wow, I've been doing that for 28 years.
I cannot believe it's been 28 years. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And what was the idea? Why in the world did you start a film festival? You must have been like 15 or something.
I was a little bit older than that.
Yeah.
But, so here's what happened. Jonathan called me one day. I have a very clear memory of standing in my kitchen, and Jonathan called and said, I have this idea. What do you think about starting a film festival in Nantucket? And it was one of those moments where I knew the minute he said it, I had like a gut reaction where I was like, we could do this. I didn't say it out loud. And all I said was yes, yes. Because between the two of us and growing up on Nantucket, also at the time I was married to a film producer, and we knew a lot of filmmakers, all of us, and we knew what that world was like. But then we also knew Nantucket. We knew exactly how we could. It was just intuition that we could pull this off.
You sparked to it immediately.
Immediately.
Huh. And so, what happened next? How did you guys make that happen? It's a big leap. And
it was huge because neither one of us had any experience putting a festival together.
Right.
So it was literally putting one foot in front of the other, and we incorporated as a 501c3. That took some time.
That's not easy.
No, that was navigating all of that, and then my ex-husband gave us office space in the film production office that he had, so we had space to work out of. We could start pulling in people. Jonathan knew someone who could help us with development. And then I said, I want to curate the program. I want to choose the films. I want to be the artistic director. And so you be the business guy. I'll do the fun stuff.
And so your brother was the business guy and you did the fun stuff?
Initially, yeah. But then also in the beginning, when it came to sponsorship, because that was the other big thing, right? Raising money for something like this, which is no small feat. I was involved in a lot of that too. And we were very lucky that we got Vanity Fair as a sponsor that very first year, which really put us on the map.
Right, the magazine, not the manufacturer of napkins.
Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. And how did that happen?
Vanity Fair?
Yeah.
That happened through this development person, Jennifer Estes, that Jonathan knew.
Oh, wow.
She was able to pull them in, and the rest is history.
So what do you recall? What was your budget the first year for the film festival?
Oh my God, I have no idea.
Thereabouts, and what is it now?
Now it's really, close to $1 million, and I don't know if that includes in kind. You would have to ask Mistel, but oh my God, in '96, I don't know what it was. I cannot remember.
Right.
Maybe Jonathan can.
Yeah.
400,000, 300,000, somewhere in there.
Still a healthy chunk of money.
Yeah.
And were you guys drawing salaries as well?
Very, very minimal ones.
Right.
Very small.
But when you started it, did you sort of think like, oh, great, we could make a living doing this?
No, because we did not. Because at that time it was also not not year round.
Uh-huh.
And so I think I was like, yeah, I'm doing this every year. Hell yeah. But Jonathan was having to do other jobs at the same time, basically producing or shooting commercials or whatever he was doing.
And had you been sort of a film festival goer?
Not that much. I've been to a couple. Both of us had been to a few, and I went to Sundance. That was the first time I went to Sundance. Was in 1996, actually. The
same year you started the Nantucket Film Festival, and we just had the Woodstock Film Festival, I believe. Did you go to any of that?
I did. I went to a screening and I went to a panel.
Oh,
and it was really fun.
Oh, nice. And who was talking on the panel?
Karen Allen, the actress, who was here visiting from the Berkshires. Julie Goldman, who produces a lot of big documentaries. And I cannot remember. An actress that I wasn't familiar with. I don't know. Right. I don't know what her name is.
Well, let me go back to your short-lived career, though you said it was about 10 years, working as an actress. What were the best roles you got in that decade, or going back to high school, I guess 2 decades, whatever, of working as an actress?
Oh, God, I can't even remember. I don't know. I didn't really do that many fun acting. High school, yes. All the things I did with Straight Wharf Theater were fun. We actually did Arsenic and Old Lace at one point, and me and this other friend of mine were the old lady. Those women are like in their 80s. And we had a lot of fun doing that. But the other plays and things that I did, I had small parts in some movies at that point. I'm trying to think. There was one, what was Elaine May was doing, or she had written. I can't even remember. This is so long ago. There wasn't anything that I was like, this is so satisfying.
Right.
Because I wasn't really working as an actress. I was more doing other things to make money and doing this on the side.
And what were the other things?
Waitressing.
In New York City?
Yes.
And where did you waitress?
And bartending.
Oh, nice.
Waitressed at 103 2nd Avenue for a long time, which was kind of a legendary East Village restaurant that was owned by this Japanese guy who was a real character, Bon. And the people I met there, I'm still friends with a lot of them.
Wow.
To me, it was almost like college in a certain way because there were just a lot of creative people who have all gone off to do great things.
Right.
And also our clientele were people like Keith Haring, who at the time had no money, and we would give him free food.
And what was the cross street?
It was 2nd Avenue and 5th Street.
Oh, okay.
Right on the corner.
Right.
And it was also, the way it was designed inside, all the tables were slanted. It was kind of an odd place.
Slanted? Like not level?
At an angle.
Oh,
Everything
I see.
was at an angle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm not sure I ever went in there. I used to go to Flamingo East, which was up 2nd Avenue on like 13th or something.
Oh, yeah. This was much farther down. It was right next to, so where the Fillmore East used to be on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
Which then became a nightclub called The Saint.
Right.
Which was literally right next door.
Oh, nice.
So I would often have the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. brunch shift. And the other thing is that Jean-Michel Basquiat used to come in all the time and nod out in his oatmeal.
Not out in his porridge.
Yes. No, it was a lot of people who come in at 7 a.m. who are just getting home from clubs or just leaving clubs.
So this is the 80s?
Very early, late 70s, early 80s.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun.
I'll bet. And where did you go out from? Where did you live at that point?
I lived on 9th Street, East 9th, between 1st and 2nd.
So you lived in the East Village. You hung out in the East Village. And where did you go for fun?
The Pyramid. We went to Orson. I mean, we would go out drinking if we had like a late shift. A bunch of us would go out drinking. Very much a lot to the Pyramid, which was a really fun club. I'm trying to think of other places. I know we went to other. That precedes my club years. The heavy duty club years.
Oh boy! And were you a bartender in during the club years as well? And did you have a favorite cocktail you liked to make? And the follow-up question is, did you perchance bring it here tonight for us to share?
I wasn't drinking mezcal in those days, but I did.
Nobody was.
Nobody was.
There was one brand of mezcal that had that gross worm in it. Yeah. That was it. That was the only bottle of mezcal in any bar.
But, those are the years when there were no real mixologists per se. It was not. It was just like, give me the booze.
Right.
Vodka soda, gin and tonic, Cape Codder, like just those old classics.
A Sea Breeze,
exactly.
A Greyhound.
People asked for those things. But that's like 35 years ago.
Oh, please don't date me. I'm not even that old. Well, so you weren't drinking mezcal then, but you are now?
I am. I love mezcal. I love how smoky it is.
And you brought us a mezcal cocktail to share on the air, didn't you? What's in it?
It's just
my mouth's
mezcal.
Watering already. Yeah.
Fresh lime juice. I squeezed them myself. And Cointreau.
Yum.
Very simple.
Sounds like a mezcal margarita.
Sour, but I like sour things.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys do too.
Well, it was one way to find out. Could we have some?
Yes.
Yum.
Although the ice is melting.
Oh well. We'll get more ice.
Oh yes, East Village days.
Yeah, and so that was about 10 years of your life.
Area opened in 1983.
Area, egads.
So, and it closed in 87. And then I worked at another place called MK.
Oh yeah, MK.
And that's actually, by that point, by the time I I think about 1.5 years, 2 years into MK, I was like, that's it. I'm done.
And where was MK? That was like by Union Square? Or?
It was up on 23rd Street and 5th Avenue. Or 25th Street and 5th Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Do you want just a little bit?
Sure. I'll take whatever you have.
Or you can have the rest.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Jill Burkhart, thanks for coming and bringing this mezcal. What kind of mezcal is this?
It's from Oaxaca. It's something nuestra.
Oh, that is so delicious. Yum. So you mentioned Area.
That is good.
And I remember going to Area when I was a kid. And I mean, all of those clubs, it sounds like you were probably experiencing them from a completely different angle than I was. I was like, why am I here? Who are these people? I'm not cool. I'm not worthy. You know, I'm just a nerd. But it was just a whole universe of people that looked totally different and behaved totally different and were dressed totally different from me and most of my friends. And it was such an interesting time.
How old were you then?
I moved to the city in 82 and I was 22. So, you know.
Oh, yeah. So I was 23 when Area opened. So I'm like a year older than you, I think.
Yeah. Well, cheers. Cheers to it. But yeah, I used to love to go to those clubs. You know, they would open at like 8 when Palladium opened at 8 p.m. Or 9 or whatever. And I would get there right when they opened. And because, you know, the bars are open, the light system's going, the music's going, but none of the hipsters were there and nobody was there. And I could just dance without people paying any attention, as if they ever did anyway. But, you know, when you're young and self-conscious, there you go. So where were your favorite clubs to go to?
Well, the ones that I did go to the Palladium. I mean, before Area, there was Haraz. There was a Peppermint Lounge. There was the Mud Club.
I loved the Peppermint Lounge.
The Peppermint Lounge was really fun.
Right. That was the one that had like 3 or 4 floors of different stuff. Different vibe on each floor.
Danceteria. Yeah. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Yeah. We lived at all those places.
Must have been a blast. And
it was fun.
You say were you married at that point?
I was not married. Well, I got married in 1984. And, but we were living together. We met at NYU in college, and we ended up moving in together. So that's, you know, that's who I was with most of the time. And
and your brother said he was a club owner, and you guys sort of worked together and started Area.
Well, there were 4 owners of Area. There were 4 guys from California, 2 brothers, one of whom was my ex, Christopher Good, and his brother, and then 2 friends of theirs. This guy, Sean Houseman, and another guy, Darius Azari, and then my ex's brother, Eric Good. So it was really the 4 of them that created Area. I mean, the whole family ended up doing stuff and pitched in, but they were really the idea guys behind it.
Right. And clubs, when they hit, it's just like huge cash cow.
I mean, it was a hit from night one. I mean, you know what was unique about Area was that it was like a theme park. Like there was a theme that changed about every 6 weeks. So it could be suburbia or art or cars or a bunch of different things. And so everything about the club would change. The look, it was like building sets, and then when the theme was done, you'd break them down again.
Right.
So it was kind of amazing. It was like a giant art installation.
Right. Amazing. And what were you doing? What was your role in that?
I was a bartender. I was a bartender initially for a long time, and then I started DJing. There was a huge, big dance room, and then there was the lounge, which had a huge fish tank that sharks swam in.
Oh yeah.
And what I ended up doing was DJing in the lounge, which I loved. I loved doing that.
What did you love about DJing?
because I got to play songs that I liked. I kind of, try and sense the mood of the place, but I played I was into and this is older Astrid Gilberto and old Brazilian music or just a lot of older songs. It wasn't dance music. It was meant to be more atmospheric.
Right, because it was the lounge, not the big dance room.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So I would just play songs that I loved. It seemed to work well.
And did you have a DJ name, DJ handle?
No, I didn't. I was just Jill, just me.
Yeah. Was that before DJ handles? I mean, it seems like all the DJs now have goofy names.
It wasn't really before. No, because there was Johnny Dynell, and this other Sheba legend. There were other DJs that definitely had names.
Right.
Also because Paradise Garage was huge back then, and DJs were already a thing.
Right, gotcha. And how did that era end for you? And when you look back on it, do you think oh, that was a whole era of my life and it ended here?
I think it ended when I got burned out working bartending at MK and decided I wanted to have children.
Wow.
And that was I'm done. I'm done with this.
Right. Amazing.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And then my life did a complete 360 and I had children. And we also moved to LA. That was the other thing.
And who's we?
Me and my ex.
Your ex, the father of your fabulous overachieving children. And where are the kids now? How old are they?
They are 29 and 32.
Uh-huh.
And Wilson is 29 and he is in Vancouver. He's going to art design school there.
Nice.
And Nick, my older son, is living in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, and he is a creative director at a fashion PR company.
Oh, wow.
It's like a boutique agency that reps a lot of independent labels.
Uh-huh. And is their dad still in creative kinds of fields?
He, for a long time, was line producing films. Not really doing that so much anymore.
Mm-hmm. But you kind of are. You work in film and TV now. Yeah,
I work in TV and I executive produce documentary series, which is a lot of fun.
And so that's a long stretch from bartending at MK.
Yes.
How did...
It's been a journey. It has been a journey.
So you left there, you had kids, you made that happen. How did you end up getting into the film kind of and TV business?
Well, I've always loved film. I think my epiphany for film for me was when I was in high school in Nantucket. I was babysitting. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was flipping through regular TV, and I happened upon La Dolce Vita, and I had never seen anything like that before.
Right.
And I must have stayed up till the people that I was babysitting for. They got home at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Right.
I watched the whole movie and I was just smitten. I was like, this is amazing. Who is Fellini? Why have I never seen anything like this before?
Right.
And that was it.
Wow. And
I think I loved film more than I love theater. There's something about film that I just love. So that has been a constant, I think, through everything, is that love of film, which led to the film festival, which then, going from the festival, which I did for about 14 years. And then I got burned out doing that because then my job just felt like I was raising money all the time. And I was like, I want to do something more creative.
Right. Huh. And so you saw this Fellini film and it just blew your mind. And you thought, I want to be involved in making that kind of art. And what's the next step? I mean, lots of people see movies and think that, oh my God, that's so beautiful. I want to do that.
Well, I did make 3 Super 8 films with my girlfriends that I still have. I need to transfer them. They are so demented and so hysterically funny.
Are you keeping the film somewhere safe?
Yes, I have it somewhere safe in my house.
Good humidity.
I really need to transfer them, actually. One of them is called The Sea Monster, where we put a friend of ours in garbage bags and made her come out of the ocean.
Sounds like a perfect Super 8 film for some kids to make.
And one of the other ones was my mother dared me to walk down Main Street on Nantucket in a bathrobe.
Yeah.
And I did it. Not only did I do it, I ended up doing it, she said she'd give me anything I wanted. And so I did it, and then she reneged on the deal. But then what happened was it inspired me and my best friend to get dressed up in weird outfits from the thrift shop and walk around Nantucket and pretend we were doing candid camera. So, and film people's reactions to us.
Nice.
And that's the other movie. And that was hysterical too.
That sounds fun.
So much fun doing it.
And what was that one called?
Oh my God. I think it's like crazy. I think it's called Crazy Old Ladies.
Now, you also did a film, according to the internet there, called There Once Was a Man from Nantucket.
Yeah. My brother. So, Jonathan, that is a faux film.
Oh, it's a faux film?
Well, we haven't really made it. We haven't done anything.
Oh, it's just...
Jonathan just put it on IMDb.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did.
And you directed it?
Yeah, so did he. We're directing it together.
It's a conceptual piece.
But here's the thing about that.
Yeah.
I always had this idea to do a trailer for the film festival. That it was all going to be all these different people, some famous, some not, saying the famous limerick, there once was a man from Nantucket.
And what's the rest of this limerick? I'm not sure I've ever heard it.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
there
internet
once
radio.
was a man from Nantucket whose dick was so long he could suck it. I can't remember the rest.
He said with a grin.
Well, what? While wiping his chin, if my... Wait, what is it?
I'm not finishing
Come
it.
on.
You're the one making a movie.
It's been a while. What is the rest of it?
Oh, come on. Don't be coy, Missy.
It's like something like if my son, blah, 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 I would suck it, right?
I'm not sure. And the reason I'm not giving it to you is because there are different versions of this. Yeah, that I've heard, which you'll probably get to in your movie.
Yeah.
And the one I heard was, if my ear were a cunt, I could fuck it.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, that's
I think
that's why you didn't remember it. You're like, well, I can't believe Norm said that. Well, I did. Now there was a movie, that joke, that they did about comics telling this joke about
the aristocrats.
The aristocrats, yeah. Which was so is There Once Was a Man from Nantucket. Is that going to be similar to that in the way that it's put together? This conceptual film.
Well, it's probably going to be a short film, but kind of. I mean, because it was really conceived to be a trailer for the festival, and to be like, it could probably be too dirty for Nantucket these days. Who knows? But I still think it'd be really fun to do.
Right.
Just have all these different people trying to remember it, saying it, and a real fun mix of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see that.
Right?
Yeah. And
I would too.
Yeah, I would love. Well,
we're gonna do it.
I just did it, so now you got to call me to have me in the film.
You will be in the film.
Good. I would love to do that joke for possible use in some movie. So you say that it might be too dirty for Nantucket now. Has Nantucket changed a lot, and has the film festival offerings changed with it over the 28 years?
Yeah, I think, we were funkier back then, and the island's definitely changed a lot. It's definitely more she and upscale. I mean, it was changing even when we started the festival, but it's even, that was 28 years ago, right? So
right.
It's changed significantly since then.
And was there a particular focus of the festival when you started it?
Yeah,
did you think, how is this going to be different from...
That was Jonathan Larson's idea, was that we should focus on screenwriters.
Okay.
And we all agreed that at that time, screenwriters were very much underdogs in the film industry, right? They didn't ever get the same attention that actors or directors did. And yet we all agreed that the screenwriter's job is often the hardest and the most creative. Like, you don't have a good movie without a great script, although there's some directors that would argue that, but...
Really? Like who? Yes. I want to hear the argument against that.
There are a lot of auteurs that I think would argue that.
I don't need a script. Just give me unlimited budget.
Who's the British director? There's some British director, I can't think of his name right now, who has said, I don't use a script. Pshaw.
Pshaw. I love that word. Huh. Well, so this British director, who shall go nameless, because nobody is remembering his name.
It'll come to me.
So how does it work? How do you make a movie without a script?
You've got to have some kind of an outline. You need to know where you're going. But
right. Now, Curb Your Enthusiasm, I'm thinking about, supposedly they just sort of have an outline and then it's all improv.
Yeah, which makes sense for that show.
Yeah. But you think a movie could conceivably work that way?
I think there are definitely movies that are have been made that way.
Uh-huh. And have you, your IMDb credit for director is just this one theoretical film. Have you directed other movies? Do you have any desire?
I have had desires. I have thought about it because I'm so enmeshed in what, now I executive produce documentaries and documentary series. So a lot of my job is looking at cuts of these episodes that come in, and I have to give them notes and feedback, right? So I have to really think about a lot of it. It is editing in a way. I'm not physically doing the editing, but I'm saying this is too long, or you need to emphasize this part more.
Establish this.
Right. You're not exactly. Or you're losing momentum in this part. You need to cut this back and bring this back in. There is a lot of that, which is helping to shape a show.
Sure. And what's your title?
Vice President of Unscripted Programming.
Okay. Which sounds like such a sort of like corporate,
It is.
white collar office.
But Jeff told me I need to say it.
Who?
My husband.
Oh, Jeff.
He was like...
Hi, Jeff. He's such a beautiful, beautiful human being.
He is.
As far as I can tell. I'm not married to him, of course. But
he is a beautiful human being.
Yeah. Your brother, who gave me some information about you, said, Jill is married to Jeff Bosler, who's the only person I want to hold me. I love Jeff. And of course, I was like, aren't you married? Like, what about your wife? What is she going to think when you hear this? And then I was like, oh, great. I can't wait to read it. Just to stir up some shit.
Can I tell you something really funny?
Yeah. It's just the two of us here. Yeah.
About Jonathan and his phrasing. There is an orthopedic doctor who shall remain nameless on this radio show.
I think he's going to be Jonathan's guest on Jonathan's radio show.
Probably.
Yeah.
Who Jonathan was like, oh my God, Jill, he's so handsome. When you go see him, don't get lost in his eyes.
Does he have two first names?
Kind of, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, a handsome guy.
It was the don't get lost in his eyes. I was like, what? Where did you get that?
That's funny. So where were we? We were talking about Jeff for a second. How long you been married to Jeff?
19 years. We just had our anniversary on Tuesday too.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, so we actually met 20 years ago. So yeah, it is amazing.
And how did you meet?
On Match.com.
That existed 20 years ago?
It did. It was in its heyday. I think 20 years ago.
It was what?
In its heyday.
In its heyday, yeah. I think it's still doing pretty well.
I think it is.
I think all of those things are doing pretty well. And now they have Facebook dating.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, I've never done like Tinder or any of those new OkCupid. Those were all the newer ones.
Well, you didn't have to.
No,
I mean, it sounds like Match worked out pretty well for you. And where were you all living when you met?
Wait, say that again?
Where were you all living when you met?
I was living in Tribeca in the city, and Jeff was living in Williamsburg in Brooklyn.
And where'd you go on your first date?
I had him come meet. It was very funny actually, because I hadn't even officially joined Match, and I went browsing through and I saw his picture and I was like, this guy looks cool. So I wrote to him. Somehow I was able to write to him without officially being a member of or maybe I was. I can't remember. I finagled something.
Right.
Anyway, I wrote to him and he wrote back to me. But I could also tell he was like juggling a few different women. Like we had a few back and forths, but there was something about the way he answered me. I was like, you know what? Let's just meet for coffee and get it over with. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
So let's just meet. So
meet for coffee and get it over with. That's a good positive attitude.
So we met at this restaurant in my neighborhood, and it's called Edwards. And I said coffee. When I got there, Jeff was drinking a martini. It was a Sunday afternoon around 4:00. And I had told my kids, I said, hey, I'm going to go out and meet a friend. I'll be at Edwards in case you need me.
How old were the kids?
I think they were like 10 and 12.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll just be down the street at Edwards, which is a place that we went all the time.
Right.
And so Jeff and I were sitting at the bar talking, and all of a sudden I felt hands around my waist, and it was Wilson, my younger son. And they're like, hi, Mom, can we have some money to go to the drugstore? Meanwhile, they're really checking out Jeff.
Did they know you were going on a date?
I didn't say I was going on a date.
They surmised.
Yes.
That's great.
They sniffed it out.
Yeah.
And so Jeff got the whole package in that very first meeting.
Which is nice. Which is nice.
Yeah. And anyway, so we talked for like, I guess an hour and a half, a couple of hours. And then that was kind of it. I walked Jeff to the subway, and he emailed me literally like half an hour later and said, when can we get together again?
Oh, that melts my heart.
The rest is history.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, I've got lots of friends who are doing all the dating. They're like, oh, should I email or should I like play it cool? I'm like, what? No, like do whatever you want. You need somebody who can handle all your enthusiasms.
Yeah.
You know,
and Jeff had been, so I was new to Match, but Jeff had been doing it for quite a while. And when he tells the story, he always talks about he was sort of at the other end of, he was like, he was burning out on it. And he was just like, I've done this. I've spent tons of money taking women out to dinner. I'm over this.
Right.
So it was like kind of like a, fine, I'll meet you for coffee. You know? And boom.
Whatever. Wow. What a treat. Well, cheers to you two. I'm going to raise my cup and also ask for more. This is delicious.
I know. Well, have more.
Yum. So back to getting into the film business. You saw this Fellini flick, La Dolce Vita. Did you then watch like every Fellini movie you could?
I watched tons of Fellini movies. I was obsessed with Anna Magnani, who I adored her and still do. I love Italian neorealism and I don't know, everything. Breathless. I mean, all the classics.
Right. Didn't Godard just pass away, or Belmondo?
He did.
Right.
But I realized that I loved those. I mean, I love schmaltzy American films too, but
schmaltzy.
But I love film. It's such a great medium of storytelling.
And where did you see La Dolce Vita? You were babysitting.
I was babysitting
in New York City.
On Nantucket.
Oh, Nantucket. So how?
On the people I was babysitting on their TV. I was probably 15 or 16.
I got the timeline wrong on this. Somehow I thought you were older. Wow, that's amazing. So then you started the film festival, and then you got into sort of the club scene and bartending, all that stuff.
No, it's the club scene came way before the festival.
Okay. Okay, you did the club scene. I'm rearranging my mind, which takes a lot longer these days than it used to.
I know, because we've been jumping around.
And then the film festival. And then you started getting into the business of making films and TV shows.
Well, what happened when I decided I didn't want to do the festival anymore? I took like a year off and then basically stalked. We had a board member who was starting Epix.
And what is Epix?
That's the cable network who I work for now, which is actually becoming MGM Plus. We just announced last week.
Oh, MGM Plus.
We were owned by MGM, and Amazon just bought us and MGM. So we are rebranding as MGM Plus, which is super exciting.
Wow. And will there be a change in the kinds of things that you're making?
No, I think we want to, it's great. I think what we want to do is expand what we're doing.
Right. Nice.
So it's great. So what happened was I stalked this board member who used to be a Showtime executive and was starting Epix. And until he gave me a job.
Stalked. And what year was this?
2009.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not too far back.
I did the festival till 2008. So.
And so you stalked this board member. You said, you need to hire me at Epix to do what? What did you imagine you'd be doing? I didn't know.
I was just like, I want to work in cable TV. I want a job. That's a hard transition to make because a lot of festival people, to go from a festival having no experience in cable television to working in cable and I knew the only way it was going to happen was through somebody I knew, right?
Right.
Because no one would hire, because I don't have experience. So it was, I was part of the launch, which was crazy, and it was all hands on deck and everybody doing everything. But I learned a ton.
The launch of Epix.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had to do scheduling. I did acquisitions. The thing that was good is that I had a good film. I knew film.
Right.
And I also had a lot of contacts because of the festival. So I knew the landscape, which I think was an asset for them, right? And I also think because I come at things more curatorially, I'm not a corporate person.
Right.
I'm more of a creative person, that's better too. So we didn't do original programming right away. That came years later. But now we are fully doing original programming.
Wow. And why would a network make that shift?
Because you want to have your own content. Because people are not going to watch. It's great to have old movies and stuff that's already been out there. But these days, everything on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, HBO, it's all about original content and series. Yeah. Really, right?
Right.
And everyone's competing for audience attention.
Right.
So you want to have the best shows and the most to drive people to come to your platform to see those shows.
Right. And is it a subscription thing, Epix, or is it on basic cable?
It's subscription.
What does it cost a month to get? I should really
it's cheap.
Sign
it's
up.
$5.99. We're cheaper than anybody else, actually.
And why? And that must be by design.
Because it is by design because we want people to come watch stuff on our platform. So it's trying to engage people. I know HBO. What's Netflix now? It's almost $20 a month.
Right.
I also think people just get sick of having to pay. I have to pay Hulu. I have to pay Netflix. I have to pay Amazon.
And so when a network like Epix gets $5 a month from somebody, are the subscriptions a big part of their budget?
Revenue?
Is that a revenue?
Yes.
Yeah. What? Like 80%, 90%?
You know what? I don't know.
And I wonder what are the other revenue streams for a network like that?
That is the main revenue
That's
stream.
it. Yeah. Subscriptions.
Well, you do deals with, so you have people who come to subscribe to you directly, but then you also have other what they call affiliates that carry you, right? Like Comcast or Dish or other cable networks. Not cable networks, but what are called MPVDs that distribute you nationally, right? So we're unique in that Netflix, you just subscribe directly to Netflix. We're sort of a combo. You can subscribe directly to us, or you can get us through one of these other, what is it, like Spectrum?
Like a Spectrum bundle, sort of?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. So around here, I've got cable in the Village here, which I really got to get rid of. It's so expensive, and I never watch anything. But would Epix be bundled in my Time Warner package, Spectrum package?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Or you could subscribe to Epix alone through Spectrum or Time Warner.
Right. And what are you working on now? What are you hoping to get made for Epix right now?
We're working on some very fun. We do a lot of music projects that are really, really fun.
And do people think of it as sort of like the music network, music doc network, or?
No, we do a little bit of everything. We do a lot of true crime and music and some political content, and then some sports, and then paranormal. But we're really excited. We just announced this the other day. We're doing the definitive doc series on Amityville, the Amityville story, but the real, like, not cheesy, premium, right?
Right.
Visually,
not
cinematic.
Those night vision Super 8 video.
No, no one's really done it, and also we're giving equal weight to the murders that took place in that house. Before the Lutz family moved in.
Okay.
And the Lutz family gets all the attention, right?
I don't know. I really don't know the story.
It's a fascinating...
I'm just curious if the amazing Randy is going to be a part of it. the famous skeptic.
No, he is not.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited about this because if you know the story, so beautiful house in Long Island, Amityville, Italian-American family, very tied into the mob. Both the mother and the father live in this great fancy house in Amityville. One night, their oldest son goes in and murders the entire family. He kills them all in their beds while they're sleeping.
Okay.
Or does he? And then, so that happens, right?
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
And then what happens is the house sits empty for a year, and this young family, second marriage for both the husband and the wife, come in. She's got 3 kids. They move into the house and start they only live there for 28 days, and because they start experiencing all kinds of crazy shit starts happening, right? They're into transcendental meditation. One day the mom is doing meditation and feels a hand reach out and touch hers when there's nobody else in the house. One of the kids is in the closet. They're playing hide and go seek and feels hands grab his legs from behind inside the closet.
Right.
I mean, it's insane. And so
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, it's
a
great story. And so people, there are people who are like, oh, it was all a hoax. It was, there's more. They made the movie about the house when these people only lived there for 28 days and then they had to literally flee. So there were seances done with the Warrens, the famous Warren family, who are the subject of the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
They were a real couple who went around trying to exorcise people's houses.
Right.
And anyway, so it's a really interesting mix of these murders. This family was murdered there. Then this other family. What really went down in this house?
Right.
Does anyone really know? And we have one of the kids, who's obviously now an adult.
Right.
Talking about his experience and all these people that knew them and eyewitnesses to things that went on there. It's really, really good.
Amazing. Well, when can people watch that on Epix?
That will come out next spring on Epix.
And is that one of yours? Are you working on that?
That's one of mine.
What a blast. So how does the idea for that come to you?
Well, my boss gives me some directives, right? He's like, I want this, I want that. So I go out and I'm talking to agents and producers and I'm sourcing projects, right? So this project was pitched to me actually, and I brought it back to him and said, "This looks good. I think we need to attach some interesting people to help elevate it."
Right.
And that's what we did. And
who were the interesting people?
Really amazing director Leslie Chilcott, who did. She directed Helter Skelter for us a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But she's also an amazing producer. She did. This is what happens when I drink. What was the Al Gore film about the environment?
Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah.
Inconvenient
She produced
Truth.
that. She produced Waiting for Superman. She produced a lot of Davis Guggenheim's films, and now she's directing, and she's brilliant. Leslie's amazing. So we brought her on as an executive producer for this to help shape it. And she is so detailed. And when she agrees to do something, she does it so comprehensively. Anyway, we brought on a great director and Leslie, and they're making a great show.
Right. So you say help shape it. I'm just wondering, is sort of like the narrative structure? I mean, what is the difference between a great director or executive producer and somebody who's just pretty good?
I think, I think when you want to make something feel premium, you don't want things to feel cheesy, right? You want things to feel like, oh, this is something I would see on HBO.
Right.
So you want it to be super cinematic. You want it to be subtle, not over the top with, like, in this case, going too crazy with scares and gimmicky things.
Blair Witch.
Right. Although Blair Witch in its own right, we actually have a series that just premiered last Sunday called Blumhouse's Compendium of Horror.
Nice title.
Which is actually great. And I highly recommend it. Everybody should watch it. It is a history of horror, and it goes into how American culture has influenced horror films over the decades, right? So whatever's happening to us societally, politically, is reflected in our horror films. And it
makes sense.
And horror films are cathartic. So, anyway, where am I? I got off track.
You're just about to describe the mechanism by which horror films are cathartic.
Right.
Is it because you see them? It's like, oh, thank God I wasn't killed.
See, yes, and my life isn't so bad after all.
That's great. The same phenomenon when you watch Hoarders, for example. It's like, wow, my life's not that terrible.
Exactly.
Is that it? Horror films? I hadn't thought of them as cathartic. That's why it's stuck with me.
I think people love being scared. I think they love that. And I think the fact that they can have a scare, but at the end of the day, no, ultimately they're safe and they're okay, is a thrill.
Right.
But it is cathartic. Like, you think about the films in the 1950s, like during the atomic scare, you had all those, like the giant ants, or the blob was literally like the Red Scare.
Yeah.
Because it was a red blob.
Yeah.
Sucking everybody up, right?
Right. That was terrifying to me.
The fear of communism.
Right. I wasn't afraid of communism, but I was afraid of the blob.
I was afraid of the blob, too.
Yeah.
I think, how old were we when that came out? Little.
Oh, boy.
Anyway.
8, 10?
It's a lot. It's so much fun because you get to revisit all those old movies, or Forbidden Planet, The Day the Earth Stood Still. There's a lot of great classics.
Right.
Cat People. Not to mention Frankenstein, Dracula, and all those films.
Yeah, which were so good. All right, we've got like a few seconds left. Tell me about where can I hear the songs of Mudmen? Yeah.
We didn't even talk about Mudmen.
No.
Where can you? That is a good question. And SoundCloud has some of them.
SoundCloud does. And this was a band you were in the 80s, I'm guessing. Were you living in New York City?
Yes. So one of the guys that I used to work at 103 at, this guy, Kevin Larman, who's an artist actually who lives up in Jefferson, New York now, we were really friendly, and I was studying African dance. And so he knew that, and they had a drummer. The sound of this band, it was these three guys. They were doing a lot of Burundi style drumming.
Uh-huh.
And so I had mentioned to Kevin at some point that I was studying African dance, which I loved. I did a lot of African and Afro-Brazilian dance.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, would you ever want to like dance on stage while we're performing? And I thought, sure, why not? Oh. And so I would improvise, but then I also ended up playing percussion, like timbali and a bunch of other things on stage with them.
And had you had any experience in the past playing those things?
No. But I did take conga lessons in Harlem with a really great teacher who I think he thought it was hysterical that who is this white girl coming up to Harlem and taking conga lessons from me? But I actually was pretty good.
I think they call it cultural appropriation these days.
Right.
But back then it was like, all right, whatever.
But he got a kick out of it, and it was actually really fun.
Nice. All right, one final question, then we're going to go. What are you dressing up as for Halloween?
Oh, my goodness.
This from your brother. The one that's not Seth. I forget his other guy's name.
Wait, he asked that question?
Yeah, he just texted. Yo, ask Jill what she's dressing as for Halloween.
Oh, my God. I haven't even thought about Halloween, but if I don't know. All
right, good. Well, that is a great place to finish. I don't know. Correct me if I'm Norm. Jill Burkhart, thank you so much for being here. What a treat. And thanks for these wonderful drinks. I'm sure you'll come up with a wonderful creative Halloween costume.
I'm sure I will.
I hope to see you that night. Everybody have a fabulous Friday evening and a wonderful weekend. Thanks for tuning into RadioFreeRhinecliff.org.